I hope I'm audible, right? Let me check, guys. Let me check. Let me share the link. Am I audible?
Audible?
Yes. Voice is pretty clear. Let me upload some stuff. Yep. Okay. So hey everyone. Now today morning itself, I started reading my this new book Tuesday with Morrie, and the best part about this book is this is not some self improvement book or something or something. This is written by Mitch Albom, and so here he explains about his relationship that he had with his one old professor, and then how he, as of now I have read almost 50 pages of it, and he talks about how he was very close to that how he was very close to that professor, and then for job and for other master degrees when he went away, how he started forgetting things, and when he got news about the illness of his professor, how bad he felt. And one day, randomly, when he came back to his town, he had a random encounter with the same professor, and how his all the memories suddenly came in. So as of now, this is what I read. So the chapters that are mentioned here are like, so here again the story is a old man, a young man, and life's greatest lesson. What are the things? And then it's like a Tuesday general, the conversation that he was having with his professor are mentioned here, and how what kind of regrets he was having, like not able to see the professor who used to love him a lot, and not able to cope up with the society expectations, all those things. So as of now, I'm on this the first Tuesday we talk about the world. I'm on this chapter. If my voice supports, will be reading it as much as I can. Let me start. Connie opened the door and let me in. Maury was in his wheelchair by the kitchen table, wearing a loose cotton shirt and even looser black sweatpants. They were loose because his legs had atrophied beyond normal clothing size. You could get two hands around his thighs. Yeah, he's talking about his professor, how his legs and his hands became so thin that in normal clothes of his that he's wearing, almost two hands can pass on. I got you something, I announced, holding up a brown paper bag I had stopped on my way from the airport at a nearby supermarket and purchased some uh, turkey, Some turkey, potato salad, macaroni salad, and bagels. I know there was plenty of food at the house, but I wanted to contribute something. I was so powerless to help Maurice Otherwise, I remembered his fondness for eating. How big fan Mori was. So the professor is Mori, by the way. How big fan like Mori was of eating, right? Ah, so much food, he sang. Well, now you have to eat it with me. We sat at kitchen tables surrounded by wicker chairs, this time without the need to make up 16 years of information. We slid quickly into the familiar waters of our old college dialogue. Mori asking questions, listening to my replies, stopping like a chef to sprinkle in something I had forgotten or hadn't realized. He asked about the newspaper strike, and true to form, he couldn't understand why both sides didn't simply communicate with each other and solve their problems. I told him not everyone was as smart as he was. Occasionally, he had to stop to use the bathroom, a process that took some time. Connie would wheel him to toilet, then lift him from the chair to support him. Since the professor became so old and sick that he was not able to walk, neither he can do his daily works by himself, so he definitely needed the author's help to do his daily work. Do you remember when I told Ted Koppel that pretty soon someone was gonna, yeah, right. I laughed. You don't forget moments like that, right? Well, I think the day is coming. That one bothers me. Why? Because it's the ultimate sign of dependency. Someone wiping your bottom. But I'm working on it. I'm trying to enjoy the process. Enjoy it? Yeah. After all, I get to be a baby one more time. So it's like when you're a baby, most of the works are dependent on someone. That's what professor is saying this to author, that slowly I'm going towards becoming a child. I cannot do my own work by my own self. I can't take out the garbage, but I can sit here with my dwelling days and look at what I think is important in life. So I said in reflexively cynical response. What is the meaning of cynical? Let's search it out. So the spelling, let me just, cynical, cynical. Cynical means uh, cynical person believes that primarily motivated something something. Cynical means हर एक को स्वार्थी समझने वाला. Okay, so cynical means someone who thinks everyone is selfish, like that. Yeah, someone something like that. New words. I do have one page where I post the new words. Let me put it there. Right. So I said reflexively cynical response. I guess the key. Yep. Sorry. So I said, yeah, I guess the key to finding the meaning of life is to stop taking out the garbage. He laughed, and I was relieved that he did. As Connie took the plates away, I noticed a stack of newspapers that had obviously been read before I got there. You, you bother keeping up with the news? I asked. Yes, Maury said. Do you think that's strange? Do you think because I'm dying, I should not care about what happens in this world? See, now this is one of the good learnings for us, that the professor knows he's going to die, but still he wants to know what's happening in this world and how this world is evolving. Yeah, maybe, he sighed. Maybe you're right. Maybe I should not care. But after all, I won't be around to see how it all turns out. But it's hard to explain, Mitch. Now that I'm suffering, I feel closer to people who suffer than I ever did before. The other night on TV, I saw people in Bosnia running across the street, getting fired upon, killed innocent victims, and I just started to cry. I feel their anguish as if it was my own. I don't know any of these people, but how can I put this? I'm almost drawn to them. His eyes got moist. I tried to change the subject, but he dabbed his face and waved me off. I cried. I cry all the time now. He said, never mind. Amazing. I thought I worked in the news business. I covered stories where people died. I interviewed grieving family members. I even attended the funerals. I never cried. Maury For the suffering of people half a world away was weeping. Is this what comes to the end? I wonder, maybe death is the great equalizer, the one big thing that can finally make strangers shed a tear for one another. Morrie honked loudly into the tissue. This is okay with you, isn't it? Men crying. Sure, I said, too quickly. He grinned. Ah, Mitch, I'm gonna loosen you up. One day I'm gonna show you it's okay to cry. Yeah, yeah, I said. He said, yeah. We laughed because he used to say the same thing nearly 20 years earlier. Mostly on Tuesdays. In fact, Tuesday had always been our day together. Most of my courses with Maury were on Tuesday. He had offices hours on Tuesday when I wrote my senior's thesis, which was plenty much Maury's suggestion right from the start. So it seemed only fitting that we were back together on a Tuesday. Here is the house with a Japanese maple out front. And as I ready to go, I mentioned this to Morris. We are Tuesday people, he said. Tuesday people? I repeated. Morris smiled. Mitch, you asked about caring for people I don't even know. But can I tell you the thing I'm learning most with this disease? What's that? The most important thing in life is to learn how to give out love and let. I do need a pen, guys. I need to highlight it. Really sorry. Yeah, I got the pen. I do have the pen with me. The most important thing in life, the most important thing in life is to learn how to give out love and let it come in. His voice dropped to a whisper. Let it come in. We think we don't deserve love. We think if we let it in, we'll become too soft. But a wise man named Levin said it right. He said love is only rational act. Love is only rational act, guys. He repeated it carefully, pausing for effect. Love is only rational effect. I nodded like a good student, and he exhaled weakly. I leaned over to give him a hug, and although it is not really like me, I kissed him on the cheek. I felt his weakened hands on arms, the thin stubble of his weak whiskers brushing my face. So you will come back next Tuesday, he whispered. So again, the professor is expecting him to come back again because since the student has been really close to Professor Mori, so he wants someone to tell his story. So whoever already it was mentioned that whoever is coming there, he's telling them how what knowing that you're going to die feels like. He whispered. Okay. He enters the classroom, sits down, doesn't say anything. He looks at us. We look at him. At first, there are few giggles, but Maury only shrugs, and eventually a deep silence falls as and we begin to notice the smallest sounds. The radiator humming in the corner of the room, the nasal breathing of one of the fat students. Some of us are agitated. When is he going to say something? We squirm, check our watches. A few student looks out of the window trying to be above it all. This goes on a good 15 minutes before Maury finally breaks in, whispers, hello. What's happening here? He asks. And slowly a discussion begins, as Maury has wanted all along, uh, about the effect of silence on human relations. What are we embarrassed by silence? What comfort do we find in all the noise? I'm not bothered by the silence. For all the noise I make with my friends, I'm still not comfortable talking about my feelings in front of others, especially not classmates. I could sit in the quiet for hours if that is what the class demanded. On my way out, Molly stops me. You didn't say much today, he remarks. I don't know. I just didn't had anything to add. I think you have a lot to add, in fact. In fact, Mitch, you reminded me of someone I knew who also liked to keep things to himself when he was younger. Who? Me? Yeah, yeah. So again, the professor is expecting him. Hello. So the professor is expecting him. So he's telling a story about how was his first interaction with the professor and how he was comforting him, like it's fine, you can talk, you can talk, you can talk. And then now the author is telling about his second meeting, the second Tuesday. uh, the second Tuesday we talk about feeling sorry for yourself, when again he went to meet his weak professor. ठीक है, I came back the next Tuesday, and for many Tuesdays that followed, I looked for. Let me concentrate, guys. Let me concentrate. Let me concentrate. I came back the next Tuesday, and for many Tuesdays that followed, I looked forward to those visits more than one would think. Considering I was flying 700 miles to sit alongside a dying man. By the way, guys, I don't know you guys know or not, but this is very crazy book, very crazy book. The Tuesdays with Morrie. Morrie is the name of the professor, and the professor is suffering from some illness, and he's going to die. Professor knows that he will die in 6 months, and Mitch, who's the author, he's really close to professor. He was a student of professor, so he's flying 700 miles to come and see his professor. And then professor talks about life. This is what the book is about. That's why it's Tuesday with Mori. And in childhood, when the kid used to learn from the professor, class used to happen on Tuesdays. So yeah, classes used to happen on Tuesdays. So still, when the professor is going to die, still the classes are happening on Tuesday only. And then, yeah, so that's what he's telling. The newspaper situation in Detroit had not improved. In fact, it had grown increasingly insane, with nasty confrontations between replacement workers, people arrested, beating, lying in the street in front of livery trucks. In light of this, my visits with Maury felt like a cleansing rinse of human kindness. We talked more about life, we talked about love, we talked about one of Maury's favorite subjects, compassion, and why our society had such a shortage of it. Before my third visit, I stopped at a market called Bread and Circus. I had seen their bags in Maury's house, and I figured he must like the food there. So yeah, Maury was huge fan of eating food. So he saw some bag of some market at his professor's house. He stopped there and he thought he will buy it. When I entered Maury's study, I lifted the bags as if I would just rob the bank. Food, man, I bellowed. Maury rolled his eyes and smiled. Meanwhile, I looked for the signs of the disease progression. His fingers worked well enough to write with a pencil or hold up his glass, but he could not lift his arms much higher than his chest. Yeah, so of course, the professor was so weak that he couldn't lift the glass more than his chest, and he can barely write. Yep, and he had one large reclining chair, pillows, blankets. He kept a bell near his side. When his head needed adjusting, he will just like press the bell and people will come. And the Connie and Tony, Bertha, Amy, like all the house servants will come and they will help the professor out. I asked Mori if he felt sorry for himself. So the student is asking Mori, like, if you ever felt sorry for yourself. Sometimes in the mornings, he said, yes, I feel around my body. I move my fingers and my hands. Like the professor is old. He's into his late 70s. Good night, bye. So professor, yeah. So he asked, like, do you ever feel bad? He says, yeah, I do feel bad in the mornings when I cannot do anything that I used to do. Professor is in his late 79s, and professor knows that he is going to die. He's just accepting the world. So professor had two choices. Mori is the professor. He had two choices: either to live with his fear of death, or to enjoy the life that he's having. But what he selected enjoying the whatever the time he had left. I give myself a good cry if I need it, but then I concentrate on all the good things still in my life. This is what professor talks about. I give myself a good cry if I need it, but then I concentrate on all the good things still in my life, on the people who are coming to see me, on the stories I'm going to hear, on you if it's Tuesday, because we are Tuesday people. Damn. So he tells, right now I just want to focus about all the good things. Mitch, I don't allow myself anymore. I don't allow myself any more self pity than that. A little each morning, a few tears, and that's all. That's all. Damn, damn. Oh, yeah. I thought about I thought about all the people I knew who spent many of their waking hours feeling sorry for themselves, how useful it would be to put up a daily limit on self pity Just a few, uh, just a few tearful minutes, then on with the day. And if Maury could do it with such a horrible disease, it's only horrible if you see it that way. Maury said, "It's horrible to watch my body slowly wilt away to nothing. But it's also wonderful because of all the time I get to say goodbye." He smiled. Not everyone is so lucky. So see, this is the beauty about Mori. He's a professor. How he's finding the positivity in everything. He's saying, "I know I'm going to die, so now I have enough time. Maybe not to live everything, but definitely to say bye to everyone." He's giving call to people and he's saying like how much time I have left, and bye. I just want to leave this universe. Maybe there's very less time that I have. Mitch, yeah, it's only horrible if you see it in that way. Maury said, "It's horrible to watch my body slowly wilt away." He smiled. Not everyone is so lucky. I studied him in his chair, unable to stand, to wash, to pull on his pant. Lucky? Did he really say lucky? Damn. So that's what he's talking about. He's saying he cannot do his basic work. Still, he's thankful to God that he's lucky enough that he's going to die, and still he's thankful to people. During a break, when Maury had to use the bathroom, I leafed through the Boston newspaper near his chair. There was a story about a small timber town where two teenage girls tortured and killed a 73-year-old man who had befriended them. Then threw a party in his trailer home and showed off the cops. There was another story about the upcoming trial of a straight man who killed a gay man after the latter had gone to a TV talk show, said he had crush on him. I put the paper away. Maury was rolled back in, smiling as always, and Connie went to lift him from the wheelchair to the recliner. "You want me to do that?" I asked. There was a momentary silence, and I'm not even sure why I offered, but Maury looked at Connie and said, "Can you show him how to do it?" "Sure," Connie said. Following her instructions, I leaned over, locked my forearms under Maury's armpits, and hooked him towards me as if lifting a large log from underneath. Then I straightened up, hosting him as I rose. Normally, when you lift someone, you expect their arms to tighten around your grip. But Maury could not do this. He was mostly dead weight. I felt his head bounce softly on my shoulder as his body sagged around like a big dumb. "Ah," he softly groaned. I gotcha," I said, holding him like that moved me in a way I cannot describe except to say I felt the seeds of death. I felt the seeds of death inside his shivering frame. And as I laid him in his chair, adjusting his head on the pillows, I had the coldest realization that our time was running out and I had to do something. It is my junior year 1978 when disco and Rocky movies are the cultural rage. We are in unusual sociology class at Brandeis, something Maury calls group process. Each week we study the ways where the student in the group interacts with one another, how they respond to anger, jealousy, attention. We are human lab rats. More often than not, someone ends up crying. I refer to it as the touchy feel. Really sorry. Wait. I should concentrate. Wait, just give me 1 minute. Yeah, we'll read again. On this day, Maury says he has an exercise for us to try. We are to stand facing away from our classmates and fall backward, relying on another student to catch us. Most of us are uncomfortable with this, but we cannot let go for more than few inches before stopping ourselves. Uh, Finally, one student, a thin, quiet, dark-haired girl, whom I notice almost always wears bulky white fisherman sweaters, crosses her arm over her chest, closes her eyes, leans back, and does not flinch, like the ones of Lipton tea commercials where the model splashes into the pool. For a moment, I am sure she is going to thump on the floor. At the last instant, her assigned partner grabs her head, shoulder, and yanks up harshly. "Whoa!" Several students yell, some clap. Maury finally smiles. "You see," he says to the girl, "you closed your eyes. That was the difference." Sometimes you cannot believe what you see, you have to believe what you feel. And if you are ever going to have other people trust you, you must feel that you can trust them too, even when you are in dark, even when you are falling. Yes, damn. Damn, damn. Okay, then there is one new page is there. The third Tuesday. The third Tuesday we talk about regrets. Damn. Okay, so now we have this one more Tuesday. The audio visual part two. For tomorrow, I do have a lot of work to do. Okay, we already streamed for 25 minutes. Let me see. Take some 5 minute break. I think I will be taking one 5 minute break. Hey, yeah. The third Tuesday, we talk about regrets. The next Tuesday, I arrived with the normal bags of food, pasta with corn, potato salad, apple cobbler, and something else, a Sony tape recorder. I want to have a voice so I can listen to it. When I'm dead. Don't say that. He laughed. Mitch, I'm going to die, and sooner not later. He regarded the new machine so big. He said I felt intrusive as reporters often do. So I began to think that a tape machine between two people who were supposedly friends were a foreign object, an artificial ear, with all the people clam- clamoring for this time. Perhaps I was trying to take too much away from these Tuesdays. Listen, I said, picking up the recorder, we don't have to use this if it makes you uncomfortable. He stopped me, wagged a finger, then hooked his glasses off his nose, letting them dangle on the string around his neck. He looked me in, he looked me square in his eyes. He looked me square in his eyes. Put it down. I put it down, Mitch. He continued softly now. You don't understand. I want to tell you about my life. I want to tell you before I can't tell you anyone. His voice, his voice dropped to a whisper. I want someone to hear my story. Will you? I nodded. We sat quietly for a moment. So he said, is it turned on? Now the truth is, the tape recorder was more than nostalgia. I was losing Maury. We were all losing Maury, his family, his friends, his ex-students, his fellow professors, his pals from political discussion groups that he loved so much, his former dance partners, all of us. And I suppose tapes like photographs and videos are a desperate attempt to steal something from death's suitcase. But it was also becoming clear to me, through his courage, his humor, his patience, and his openness, that Mori was looking at life from some very different place than anyone else I knew. A healthier place, a more sensible place, and he was about to die. If some mystical clarity of thought came when you look death in the eye, then I knew Maury wanted to share it, and I wanted to remember it as long as I could. The first time I saw Maury on Nightline, I wondered what regrets he had once I knew his death was imminent. Did he lament lost friends? Would he have done so much differently, selfishly? I wondered if I were in his shoes. Would I be consumed with sad thoughts of all that I had missed? Would I regret the secrets I had kept hidden? When I mentioned this to Maury, he nodded. It's what everyone worries about, isn't it? What if today were my last day on earth? He studied my face, and perhaps he saw an ambivalence about my own choices. I had this vision of me keeling over my desk one day, halfway through a story, my editors snatching the copy even as the medics carried my body away. Mitch, Maury said. I shook my head and said nothing, but Maury picked up on my hesitation. Mitch, he said, the culture doesn't encourage you to think about such things until you are about to die. We are so wrapped with egotistical things, career, family, having enough money, meeting the mortgage, getting a new car, fixing the radiator when it breaks. We are involved in millions of little acts just to keep going. So we don't get into the habit of standing back and looking at our lives and saying, is this all? Is this all I want? Is something missing? He paused. You need someone to probe you in that direction. It won't just happen automatically. I knew I knew what he was saying. We all need teachers in our lives, and mine was sitting in front of me. Fine, I figured it. If I was to be a student, then I would be as good as Fine, I figured. If I was to be a student, then I could be as good as a student I could be. On the plane ride home that day, I made a small list on a yellow legal pad, issues and questions that we all grapple with. From happiness to aging to having children to death, of course, there were millions of self help books on per subject and plenty of cable TV shows that $90 per hour consultation sessions. America had become Persian bazaar of self-help, but there still seemed to be no clear answer. Do you take care of others or take care of your inner child? Return to traditional values or rejection tradition or useless? Seek success or seek simplicity? Just say no or just do it? All I knew was this: Morrie, my old professor, was not in the self help business. He was standing on the tracks, listening to death's locomotive whistle, and he was very clear about the important things in his life. I wanted that clarity. Every confused and tortured soul I knew wanted that clarity. Ask me anything, Mori always said. So I wrote this list: death, fear, aging, greed, marriage, family, society, forgiveness, a meaningful life. The list was in my bag when I returned to the West Newton for the fourth time, a Tuesday in late August when the air conditioning at the Logan Airport terminal was not working, and people feigned themselves and wiped sweat angrily from their foreheads, and every face I saw looked really ready to kill somebody. By the start of my senior year, I have taken so many sociology classes. I am only a few credits shy of a degree. Maurice suggests I try honors thesis. Me, I ask, what would I write about? What interests you? We we bat it back and forth until we finally settle for it. I began a year long project on how football in America had become ritualistic, almost a religion, and an opiate for the masses. I have no idea that this is training for my future career. I only know it gives me another once a week session with Maury. And with his help, by spring, I have a 112-page thesis, researched, footnoted, documented, and neatly bound in black leather. I show it to Maury with the pride of a little leaguer rounding the bases on his first home run. Congratulations, Maury says. I grin as he leaves through it, and I glance around his office: the shelves of books, the hardwood floor, the throw rug, the couch. I think to myself that I have sat just about everywhere there is to sit in this room. I don't know, Mitch, Maury muses, adjusting his glasses as he reads. With work like this, we may have to get you back here for grad school. Yeah, right, I say. I snicker, but the idea is momentarily appealing. Part of me is scared of leaving school. Part of me wants to go desperately. Tensions of opposites. I watch Maury as he reads my thesis and wonder what the big world will be like out there. Okay. The audiovisual part 2. The Nightline shows the Nightline show had done a follow-up story on Maury. Let me see if it's 12. Okay, it's not 12, and I will try to finish it before 12. The Nightline show had done a follow up story on Maury, partly because the reception for the first show had been so strong. This time, when the cameraman and the producers came through the door, they already felt like family, and Koppel himself was noticeably warmer. There was no feeling out process, no interview before the interview. As warm up, Koppel and Maury exchanged stories about their childhood backgrounds. Koppel spoke of growing up in England, and Maury spoke of growing up in Bronx. Maury wore a long sleeve blue shirt. He was almost chilly, even when he was 90-degree outside. But Koppel removed his jacket and did the interview in shirt and tie. It was as if Maury were breaking him down one layer at a time. You look fine, Koppel said when the tape began to roll. That's what everybody tells me. You sound fine. That's what everybody tells me. So how do you know things are going downhill? The question wala guy asked. Mori sighed. Nobody can know it but me, but I know it. And as he spoke, it became obvious. He was not waving his hands to make a point freely as he had in their first conversation. He had trouble pronouncing certain words. The I sound seemed to get caught in his throat. In a few more months, he might be no longer be able to speak at all. Here is how my emotions go, Mori told Koppel. When I have people, friends here, I am very up. The loving relationship maintains me. But there are few days I am depressed. Let me not deceive you. I see certain things going and I feel a sense of dread. What I'm dead. What am I going to do with my hands? What happens when I can't speak? Swallowing. I don't care so much about. So they feed me through a tube. So what? But my voice, my hands, they are such an essential part of me. I talk with my voice. I gesture with my hands. This is how I give to people. How will you give when you can no longer speak? Mori shrugged. Maybe I'll have everyone ask me yes or no questions. It was such a simple answer that Kopal had to smile. He asked Mori about silence. He mentioned a dear friend of Mori had Maury Steen, who had first sent Maury aphorism to the Boston Globe. They had been together at Brandeis since the early 60s. Now Steen was going deaf. Koppel imagined the two men sitting together, one unable to speak, other unable to hear. What would that be? We'll hold hands, Maury said, and there will be another lot of love passing between us. Ted, we have 35 years of friendship. You don't need to speech or hearing to feel that. Before the show ended, Maury read Koppel on one of the letters he had received. Since the first Nightline program, there had been such a great deal of mail. One particular letter came from the school teacher in Pennsylvania who taught a special class of 9 children. Every child in the class had suffered the death of a parent. Here is what I sent her back, Maury told Koppel, uh, preaching his glasses gingerly on his nose and ears. Dear Barbara, I was very moved by your letter. I feel the work you have done with the children who have lost a parent is very important. Also, lost a parent at an early age. Suddenly, with the cameras still humming, Maury adjusted the glass. He stopped, bit his lip, and began to choke up. Tears fell down his nose. I lost my mother when I was a child, and it was quite a blow to me. I wish I would have had a group like yours where I would been able to talk about my sorrows. I would have joined you because his voice cracked because I was so lonely. Maury, Koppel said, that was 70 years ago. Your mom died. The pain still goes on? You bet, Maury whispered. That was 70 years ago. Your mom died. You can never, you know, go away from the pain of leaving your beloved ones and family. I cannot even imagine. What time it is? It is 25 6 now. We talk about death. The professor. Let's read one or two more chapters, then we'll end it right here. The professor. He was 8 years old. A telegram came from the hospital, and since telegram came from the hospital, and since his father, a Russian immigrant, could not read English, Maury had to break the news, reading his mother's death notice like a student in front of the class. We regret to inform you, he began. On the morning of the funeral, Maury's relatives came down to the steps of his tenement building on the poor Lower East Side of Manhattan. The men wore dark suits and the women wore veils. Uh, the kids the kids in the neighborhood were going off to school. As they passed, Maury looked down, ashamed that his classmates would see him this way. One of his aunts, a heaviest woman, grabbed Maury and began to wail. What will you do without your mother? What will become of you? Maury burst into tears. His classmates ran away. At the cemetery, Maury watched as they shoveled dirt into his mother's grave. He tried to recall the tender moments that had shared when she was alive. She had operated a candy store until she got sick, with, after which she mostly slept or sat by the window, looking frail and weak. Sometimes she would yell out for her son to get her some medicine, and young Maury, playing stickball in the street, would pretend he did not hear that. In his mind, he believed he could make the illness go away by ignoring it. Well, how else can a child confront death? Maury's father, whom everyone called Charlie, had come to America to escape the Russian army. He worked in the fur business but was constantly out of a job, uneducated, and barely able to speak English. He was terribly poor, and the family was on a public assistance much of the time. Their apartment was dark, cramped, depressing place behind a candy store. They had no luxuries, no car. Sometimes, to make money, Morrie and his younger brother would wash porch steps together for a nickel. After their mother's death, the two boys were sent off to a small hotel in a connect, connected woods where several families shared a large cabin and a communal kitchen. The fresh air might be good for the children, and the relatives thought. Maury and David had never seen so greenery, and they ran for the played in the fields. One night after dinner, they went for a walk, and it began to rain. Rather come inside, they splashed around for hours. The next morning, when they awoke, Maury hopped out of bed. Come on, he said to his brother. Get up, I can't. What do you mean? David's face was panicked. I can't move. He had polio. He had polio. Of course, the rain did not cause this, but a child of Maurie's age could not understand that. For as long as time, his brother was taken back and forth to a special medical home and was forced to wear braces on his leg, which left him limping. Maury felt responsible. So in the mornings, he went to synagogue by him because his father was not a religious man and he stood among the swaying men in their long black coat. He asked God to take care of his dead mother and his sick brother. And in the afternoon, he stood at the bottom of the subway steps, hogged magazines, turning whatever money he made over to the family to buy food. So he was very small, he was very young, and he saw his mom's death, he saw his brother's illness, and in the evenings he watched his father eat in silence, hoping for but never getting a show of affection, communication, warmth. At 9 year old he felt as if the weight of mountain was on his shoulders. He was just 9 year old. Damn, a 9 year old kid seeing all these tragedies happen and then living his life fighting with all those battles is a crazy story. But a saving embrace came into Maury's life the following year. His new stepmother, Eva. She was a short Romanian immigrant with plain feathers, curly brown hair, and energy of two women. She had a glow that warmed the otherwise murky atmosphere his father created. She talked when her new husband was silent. She sang songs to the children at night. Maury took comfort in her soothing voice, her school lessons, her strong character. When his brother returned from medical home, still wearing leg braces for the polio, the two of them shared a rollaway bed in the kitchen of their apartment, and Eva would kiss them goodnight. Maury waited on those kisses like a puppy waits for milk, and he felt deep down that he had a mother again. So, so his dad got married again, and he felt like okay, his since his mother died, now he felt like okay, he's having something good in his life. There was no escaping their poverty. Of course, they were poor. There was no escape from that. However, they lived now in Bronx in one bedroom apartment in a red brick in Tremont Avenue next to the Italian beer garden. Because of the depression, Maurie's father found even less work in the fur business. Sometimes even the family sat at the dinner table. All Eva could put out was bread. So the condition was so bad. Look, okay, things got better mentally, but financially things were worse. What else is there? David would ask. Nothing else, she would answer. On the dinner table. When she tugged Maury and David into the bed, she would sing to them in Yiddish. Even the songs were sad and poor. There was one about a girl trying to sell her cigarettes. Hmm. Please buy me cigarettes. Please buy my cigarettes. They are dry, not wet by rain. Take pity on me. Take pity on me. Phew. So this is the song that her mom used to sing for the kids. Still, despite their circumstances, Maury was taught to love and to care. Yes, uh, and to learn. Eva would accept nothing less than excellence in school because she saw education as the only antidote to the poverty. So, Jaya, Jaya, Whoever is getting sleep, kindly please sleep, guys. And to learn, Eva would accept nothing less than. Uh, she herself went to night school to improve her English. Yeah, the uh, new wife of his dad, Eva, her English was also not very good. She started going to English schools to learn English. He studied at night by the lamp at the kitchen table, and in the mornings he would go to synagogues to see Kaddish, the memorial prayer of the dead mom. He did this to keep her memory alive. He used to go to that place he used to go to that place just to remember the memories of his mom. Yes, it was a terrible burden to Morrie. For years the only evidence Morrie had of his mother was a telegram announcing her death. Damn, that guy had no uh, proof of his mom. Just one proof he had, that the telegram he got, and still the telegram was saying that your mom is going to die. He would keep it for the rest of his life. When Morrie was at When Morrie was a teenager, his father took him to a fur factory where he worked. This was during Depression. The idea was to get Morrie a job. So his dad took him to where he used to work. And the idea was, of course, if he gets a job, then two people will be working because brother cannot work. Brother is having polio, right? When Mori was a yeah, he entered the factory and immediately felt as if the walls had closed in around him. The room was dark and hot. The windows were covered with filth and the machines were packed tightly together, churning like train wheels. The fur hairs were flying, creating a thickened hair, and workers serving in pain were bent over their needles as the boss merged up and down the rows. Yeah, so he is talking about the pathetic condition that he saw on the like inside the factory, how bad the condition was, lighting issues, and they could barely see anything during. Okay, if you feel ignored you can please leave. अभी मैं कॉल करता हूँ, रुको तुमको. During lunch break, his father took Mori to the boss and pushed him in front of him, asking him if there was any work for his son. But there was barely enough work for the adult laborers, okay, and no one was giving it up. This for Mori was a blessing. He hated the place, of course. So, since there was no work, Mori felt happy that there is no work to do now. He hated the place. He made another vow that he kept to the end of his life. He would never do any work that exploited someone else. Okay, so that day, that it means I'm forgetting. Let me concentrate. Yeah, so he made one promise to himself that he would never do any work that exploited someone else, and he would never allow himself to take money off the sweat of others. I mean, that's not practically possible because you need people to work for you and they will do all the hard work and you have to eat the cake. Okay, what will you do? Eva would ask him. I don't know. I would say he ruled out law because he didn't like lawyers. He ruled out medicine because he couldn't take the sight of blood. Will you do? It only through default that the best professor I have ever became a teacher. So yeah, that Mori, what तुम क्या करोगे लाइफ में? बोलता है पता नहीं, देखेंगे. मेडिसिन हमको पसंद नहीं है, लॉ हमको लॉयर्स पसंद नहीं है. बट क्रेजी पार्ट ये है कि देखो प्रोफेसर बन गया वो. A teacher affects eternity. He can never tell where his influence stops. Yes, crazy, crazy. What a book. Okay, now I think I should stop. Let's just keep reading this for a whole night. I think enough for today, maybe. Yeah, guys, this was a Tuesday with Mori, and I have almost read 80 pages today. I will finish it by tomorrow, maybe. Now the next page we have is like the fourth Tuesday we talk about death. I hope I don't finish it in the daytime so we can stream again. And I think you might see me again streaming after 10-20 minutes because I'll be doing some project work or something. Yeah, so I'm just गिविंग बाहर जाने का वो लास्ट नोट. Anyways, so ठीक है. Okay guys, bye bye guys, bye bye, thank you.